Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode here. I'm doing a little bit of a different take on the new album Spotlight feature. Instead of just featuring one full-length album, I'm talking about two different EPs that I've been loving lately, and I want to talk about by two newer prog bands that I've been loving over the past year or so. So it's exciting to see what their next projects are, and I feel like these records really give you a good indication of what to expect from these bands. Two big recommendations for me. If you haven't heard of these bands before, these are good records to check out. And since they're EPs and shorter albums, I didn't think each one should get its own individual episode. I thought it would be fun to kind of package these together, since in my mind I've been listening to them around the same time period and they're coming out around the same time, so I thought it would be fun to talk about them one after the other. So the first one I'm talking about is Sykofant and their album Red Sun. This is a fantastic band from Norway, based in Oslo. I talked about their debut record, which came out earlier. It came out in 2024, last year in May. So this is kind of their next work from that album, and I really loved it. It was a really cool debut record that showcased some classic rock tendencies with little bits of prog flourishes. They cite bands such as Pink Floyd, King Crimson, Led Zeppelin, Porcupine Tree as some of their influences. I feel like it sounds very much like it comes from the 70s in style, but also feels very modern in its production and in the way that they perform it. So it's a cool blend of kind of old and new coming together in a fascinating, cool way. And I feel like this new project, Red Sun, is actually even better than their debut record, which already was fantastic. So it showcases that the band's continuing to grow and continue to innovate and creating excellent new music to really excite fans. And it seems like this is basically the first half of this second album that they're crafting. They're releasing them two sides at a time, basically structuring it like you would a classic vinyl release, where this is going to be side one of the record. It's perfectly the right length for a side of a record. And then later this year, they're going to be releasing side two, which is related thematically to this record. So we get kind of half of a record here to keep our palate cleansed as we wait for the next half of the record to get the full picture of what this project entails. And one of the descriptors that you could take from what this record is, they're really trying to write this kind of desert rock soundscape. You know, it's very much inspired. I think a bit about Dune when I'm thinking about this record. It's spacey and sci-fi in a sense, but it has this kind of deserty quality, you know, like you're out in the middle of a desert kind of exploring this this landscape that has these different structures like made of sand, and it's like you're visiting an unknown planet in the heat of this desert air. Really fascinating soundscape to play with within this EP. It has only 3 tracks on it. Ashes, Red Sun, and Embers are the 3 tracks, and they're each 7 to 9 minutes in length, and allow just enough room for them to shine and to play and to explore this kind of a universe that they're crafting here. The lineup is basically 4 musicians. Emil Moen does vocals and guitar, Melvin Trader on drums, Persim on guitar, and Sindre Hagen on bass. A fantastic group of musicians. A younger group, but really showcasing their talent and their love of music through this excellent EP. I'm really excited to dive in a little bit into the soundscapes here. So Ashes starts with a very atmospheric and spacey opening that sets the scene fantastically well. Before the band kicks in with their great power, we get kind of this mysterious guitar riff before we're given the main riff and groove with some vocal oohs and ahs. Great driving classic rock feel. Breaks into another more spacey desert rock style guitar solo. We continue to play with these cool grooves and these cool different feels as the track morphs and weaves throughout its runtime. Just fun rock music, and I love the different grooves, and it really is satisfying as a listen and as a piece. It just has this kind of feel and vibe, this mysterious kind of sci-fi element that I really enjoy and think is fun. The second track, Red Sun, plays a lot more with kind of a Pink Floydian kind of soundscape. A little bit more of a groove-laden, laid-back track, not as much of the heavy hard rock that they do in the other tracks. A great killer soaring guitar solo, not unlike David Gilmour. In fact, love kind of the guitar interplay towards the end, this kind of almost acoustic-y sounding guitar interplay that gives that kind of a deserty, Latin almost feel that I think works well within this concept and theme. And then Embers closes it out, kind of an epic 9-minute track with some persistent drums, awesome riffs. We get a bit of a sci-fi spacey feel with cool atmosphere about 3 minutes in that once again feels like that kind of soundtrack feel, like it could be part of the Dune soundtrack, for example. And then we get a marching patter coming out of this eerie haze, getting more and more ferocious as it proceeds. So this track's really great and varied as it goes between these different more atmospheric sections, and then we get this kind of hard rock driving feel with these great riffs playing to perfection. So a fantastic little EP, great showcase for what the band's all about. If you really want to know what to expect from the band and haven't heard of them before and are interested in this kind of classic rock flavor, this is definitely a great starting point for the band, and you couldn't go wrong with it. So please check it out. This is an incredible release, and I'm excited to see what part 2 entails. The second album that I want to talk about, the other EP on play here, is Nospūn and their Ozai EP. This is a progressive metal band from North Carolina. Fantastic album that they released called Opus. I believe it was technically a 2023 release, if I remember correctly. It's hard to keep these things straight in my brain of what year what album came out, but fairly recently they came out with Opus, which kind of shocked the progressive metal community. It sounds very much in line with classic Haken and Dream Theater in a very conceptual piece with their own flavor baked in. It was just a masterpiece album that I rated super highly because I love this band. I love how they have a bit of a playful nature to their progressive metal. They honor their heroes but also put in something a little bit new and add their own flavor. And this EP is kind of interesting. It comes out this Friday, and it's basically recreating an EP that they released prior to the album Opus. So this is kind of an older look at the band, but they decided to take this EP that they worked on previously and re-record it in their more modern style. They're, with their new production sound that Opus had, which was fantastically produced and just sounded really excellent. And so they brought that kind of a style to this one to bring it into kind of a modern sound, but it's still the same songs that they composed back, I believe it was 10 years ago that this EP was crafted. So it's not really giving you an impression of what the band's about to do next. It's more diving into their history to see their roots of where they came from before the Opus album came out. So it's a fascinating look into their past and a way to update this EP that I believe has been out on streaming service under the name Ozai, but it just didn't sound really all that pristine. It sounded a bit dated production-wise and a bit muddy, so they brought it to life here in this fascinating way. And this album is a lot more gent forward. It's a lot heavier, more aggressive progressive metal than you hear on Opus, which Opus, why I love it, I'm not really the big metalhead on YouTube here, but I really love the progressive forward nature of it. But this album is a bit more metal forward, a bit more in that heavier vein. There's even some growling vocals peppered throughout, and you get that strong gent feel throughout all of these pieces. So expect that, know that coming in, but there's still hints and trademarks to the sound that they come up with on Opus. So it's fun hearing the juxtaposition of this kind of heavier, gentier prog metal from about 10 years ago, and to hear little nods and references to the Nospūn that you'd hear on Opus to come. So it's a great listen. There's 5 tracks here. They're all fairly short comparatively to some of the lengthier prog metal tracks that we're used to. Life, the Universe, and Everything begins with a dark foreboding drone and eerie keyboard notes before we get almost a hard-edged electronica kind of vibe before we're in full heavy prog metal territory with genty riffs. Love Rich's clear, powerful vocals here, but of course he adds some growling into the mix as well for an interesting juxtaposition. A cool chorus, fairly straightforward, heavier song here. Killer guitar solo that emerges out of that heavier metal stew. So a great, powerful opener. Then we get the Effervescent Power, which was released as a single. Fun burst of heavy energy. This is more of kind of a catchier track, shorter, streamlined, but a great chorus. Just a fun, short prog metal song to really enjoy for lovers of the genre. Out with a Bang, which comes in the middle of this EP. Maybe one of my favorite tracks of the EP, maybe my favorite. I love the great lighter guitar playing at the beginning with a jazzier inflection. I feel like this one is a great breather between all the djenty, harder, heavier metal that comes before and after it. It still has a very rocking vibe, very, heavy in its own right, but it's a bit more laid back in comparison and has a bit more of that just pure progressive rock flavor. Great chorus, cool guitar soloing, great dreamier interludes with almost some vocal interplay in the mix. So it's a lot of fun to listen to, and one of the standout tracks for me of this EP. Mecha gets back into the heaviness, some great heavy djent, great screaming vocals, cool staccato riffs, trading cleans and growling vocals. There's a cool instrumental section with some fun proggy keys and switching time signatures, but then we get back into this just kind of fun, headbanging, heavy prog metal stuff that you can really hear on this EP in whole. And then the final track is Jormungand. Great keyboard strings and djent riffs to start this one out. Cool proggy keys underneath to kind of give it an extra added layer and texture. Great pleasing vocal tone from Rich here. Great bass groove. Definitely one of the most reminiscent of the sound you'd hear from Opus, but obviously adding that heavier, djenty, riffy feel. But it's really fun. Really great instrumental section here as well with a shining virtuosic guitar solo. Feels epic, but never loses that kind of djenty, heavy metal flavor that's pervasive throughout this EP. So I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I view it more as a look into their past rather than signposting what they're about to do on their future album. I'm really excited for their second album, which I'm kind of hoping comes out either later this year or maybe beginning of next year. That'll really showcase if they're able to take the momentum of Opus and continue it forward and showcase why they're one of the most promising progressive metal acts out there. But this is more just kind of a palate cleanser, a little curio on the way to the big epic album that I'm expecting will be coming in their near future. But it's a fun one, a fun little curio, a fun little step and digression into a little bit of a different lane. And I really enjoyed it for that. So check it out, coming out this Friday. I'm sure it'll be out on all the streaming services, and wherever you enjoy your music, you can check out this EP. So that's what I have for you guys today. A fantastic group of little EPs to check out if you want just a shorter burst of some interesting, cool music. Both of these will whet your appetite, I'm sure. So definitely highly recommended, and hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Let me know in the comments how you feel about these bands, or if you like this format, and if you want me to talk more about these kind of shorter curio type albums in this style. So thank you guys so much, and I'll hopefully catch you guys in future episodes. Bye everybody, enjoy the music.